Hey friend, welcome to Self-Transformed, a podcast redefining self-care through simple fitness, nutrition, and mindset habits. I'm your host, Emily Nichols, certified personal trainer, Whole30 coach, and Taco Tuesday enthusiast. Hey, I know the struggle is real when it comes to taking care of you. I too am a busy working mom who felt physically and emotionally drained until I took action on my own transformation journey. I finally found the solutions to feeling confident and living a healthy lifestyle that doesn't feel hard, and now I'm on a mission to equip you with sustainable tools to help transform your life from the inside out, guilt-free. Together, we will simplify your health and fitness into daily habits that don't feel like another thing on your long to-do list, but daily actions that light you up instead. So if you're ready to redefine self-care and step into your own self-transformation, then let's do this. You're listening to episode 89 of Self-Transformed. Hey friend, welcome back to the show. I'm so excited you're here. If you didn't have a chance to listen to episode 88, which was last week's episode, I was talking all about finding your soulmate workout. As you know, I've talked about this so many times on the show, and as a personal trainer, I truly wholeheartedly believe that moving your body should be joyful and not punishment, and that it's honestly one of the highest forms of self-care to move your body, not only physically, but mentally. The benefits to it, like hands in the air. It's the best feeling. So we talked about finding your own soulmate workout last week, and there were some tips within our Facebook group on how to do that on the show as well. But make sure to click the link in the show notes if you want to join our Facebook community where we're talking about that a little bit more. But I also released a free self-transformed 3-day at-home workout quickie. So it's just 3 videos for you that I created, upper body, lower body, and a short little HIIT workout with me, just to get you moving your body, having a little fun, taking care of yourself from the inside out. So click the link in the show notes and check it out. And like I said, come join our Facebook community. I'd love to hear a little bit more about how you are incorporating joyful movement into your day. So let's get into today's episode. I'm so excited for you to hear from my guest, Katie Kelly. Katie and I go way back. She was one of my first guests I was hosting in my Whole30 coaching groups to speak to them and inspire them as far as their gut health goes. And so that's what we're talking a little bit about today, your gut. Your gut knows what's up. Seriously. Not only metaphorically, but literally your gut knows what's up. So today we're going to be talking about how your gut is like your second brain and getting into that a little bit more. But Katie's going to be sharing her journey with us as a health coach and how she has overcome disordered eating, Crohn's, just diet dogma in general. And we're also talking about the carnivore diet today, which I think is so interesting. Gang, you know I am all about doing research and learning about different ways that people eat to best serve their body. And I found this approach to be so methodical and so interesting, and you'll hear more about Katie's story and why she's following the carnivore diet. But let me tell you a little bit about her. Katie's here in Fishers, Indiana. She wears many, many hats, but her heart is in helping others find their health and happiness. So she specializes in mindset, gut health, sports nutrition, and has a no diet dogma or one size fits all approach. And that's exactly the way wellness, nutrition, fitness should be. There is no one size fits all when it comes to taking care of yourself. But we are going to dig a little bit more into gut health today. As you will hear in our conversation, I feel like gut health is such a buzzword right now, but we don't know much about it or what exactly it means to take care of your gut. So we'll talk a little bit about your gut physically, but also your gut, your intuition, and how that plays a role in your health as well. Because guess what? Your gut knows what's up. All right, gang, let's get into this conversation with Katie. Make sure to stick around to the end of the episode. As you know, I'll share my 3 biggest takeaways. All right, gang, welcome back to Self-Transformed. I am so excited for you to hear from my friend, health and success habits coach, Katie Kelly. Katie, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for having me. It's so nice to chat with all of you.
I know. But you guys are going to love Katie as much as I do. Every time we chat, I feel like I learned something. I just learned from you following you along on social media. So I'm really excited for everyone to learn from you today on the show.
My pleasure.
Awesome. Well, Katie, the first question I ask every guest is, what does self-transformed mean to you?
Well, that can have a lot of different meanings. Just like self-care, same thing.
Yeah.
So self-transformed is going to have a different definition for, I think, every single one of us. But I believe a transformation is any period you go through where you become a better version of yourself. So I'm going to go with that.
Yeah, I love that. And you're exactly right. Everyone I ask, that's right, I ask it. Everyone has a completely different answer. And it's so interesting. But yeah, growing is uncomfortable, but it's good. It's so good.
It's good. We need it. We need it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's share a little bit more about your own transformation story. This is always a very loaded question, but kind of where you've been and what circumstances have kind of shaped you into who you are today and what you do today.
Yeah. Oh man. There's lots of chapters to that story. It's like, where do I even start? So I would say, and I think a lot of women, especially not just women, but men too, have gone through similar experiences as me, as far as body image issues, disordered eating growing up, like doubting yourself in any way possible, when it comes to just self-love, your worth, like your ability, things like that. And especially like with a lot of the clients that I take on as far as health clients, most of them have struggled with some kind of gut issues at some point in time, not really understanding what exactly was going on with their health or if it was normal at all. So it all kind of, it all goes hand in hand, when it comes to health, because your health is holistic, mental, physical, like the whole bit. It all goes hand in hand. So as far as me, I would say my body image issues and my disordered eating issues started about the age of 8. I was an overweight kid, and I specifically remember one particular time. God love my mom. Like, she was always very blunt and very honest about everything. We were eating dinner, and I had no portion control whatsoever. But as a kid, you don't really understand nutrition or proper eating or anything like that. So I just ate and ate and ate and ate and ate. And I remember my mom saying to me, she's like, Katie, like, you don't need another helping. I'm sure she didn't mean it to come across like that. Oh my goodness. But it just killed me. And that's about when my disordered eating, and I totally had a food addiction too. And I think a lot of us, no matter what you look like, no matter what you've gone through, have had some kind of a food addiction issue, which affects everything, your health, absolutely everything, all of your relationships in life. So that's kind of where it stemmed from. And that I struggled with all throughout school. I mean, kids were mean in middle school. They are just vicious little creatures. God love them. And that just kind of fueled the fire to further digging myself a hole. I will honestly say it probably wasn't until I discovered CrossFit I think it was around 2012, 2013, so about 7, 8 years ago, when I figured out what I have been doing all this time as far as restricting, eating, binging, purging. I mean, the whole bit. I did all of it. You name it, I did it. Didn't really understand nutrition and how to use it as fuel until I discovered CrossFit. And I was like, okay, so I have to eat a particular way. And I was still having gut issues throughout all of this time. I mean, ups and downs, like bloating, chronic constipation, GI bleeding. Went to umpteen dozen doctors. They just say, oh, you just need to de-stress. Like, you just have IBS. And you're like, okay, well, you're telling me to eat fruits and vegetables and all these healthy things. And, they are healthy as long as you can absorb them and digest them properly. But I just couldn't. I mean, I was eating tons of fiber and I was absolutely miserable. So you get super frustrated, you're bloated, you're uncomfortable, you already have body image issues. We're always thinking as females, we have to eat less, work out more,
right.
we're never, and if it's not working, well, then you're not trying hard enough.
Yeah.
You're doing something wrong. You need to eat 1,200 calories, the magic number. And so finally, like, I would track my food on MyFitnessPal, and I did low carb for a long, long time, just because it was back when I'm gonna, call it more of a fad, like the Atkins.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Did the Atkins with all the fake bars. I mean, I lived off of like pork rinds and cheese, and like did not do it the right way at all. And my gut was still a mess because I was eating all the processed packaged stuff. But I noticed when I just stuck to meat, like my digestive issues pretty much went away. So that always stuck in the back of my mind. And then I was a CrossFit athlete and ate the typical high carb diet, because for people who do high intensity activity, that is a more optimal fuel choice,
right,
for those kinds of activities. So you're like, okay, I don't know any better. So just really it's personal experience. Like I have people tell me, well, how did you figure out what foods work best for you? And, that your bloating wasn't normal. And I'm like, guys, this was decades of me suffering with this. This was nothing that I just started eating meat and was like, oh, this works. I mean, decades.
Right. Well, and you were ultimately diagnosed with Crohn's, right?
Yes. So I was officially like diagnosed with Crohn's. And this was just officially probably like a few years ago, maybe 4 years ago. And I was like, I knew it was something more. Like knew it was more than just IBS, because it was weird stuff that I was having, like just paralyzing, the GI bleeding was not normal. And this may be TMI, guys, but when you're talking about gut health in general,
right,
it means a lot. So if you're chronically constipated and bloated all the time and you're having things like GI bleeding, like they're not normal. Those are not normal things. That is a sign of an imbalance. And it's okay to have to eliminate things and experiment and try things out to try to figure out what's going on. It's totally okay. You can always go back to what you're doing. That's what I tell all my clients too.
Exactly.
Doesn't mean you have to stick with anything, and no diet dogma at all. I don't tell anyone that everyone should eat like the carnivore diet, kind of like how I do, with the exception of like white rice every once in a while. Because really it's not a one size fits all. It's not, but you have to get your gut stuff figured out before you chase any kind of aesthetic goal or performance goal. Like that gut health is so important.
Yeah. Well, I feel like when you, like your intuition was telling you like something is more wrong than just like my stress levels. And like you said, you've tried everything out there.
Everything.
I think a lot of times, many of us will just go to the doctor and just be like, well, here's a prescription they gave me, or they told me to, I'm so stressed out. It made me think back, just us talking. Like, I remember before I even had kids, like I felt that same way too, constant bloating, like constipation. And I went to the doctor and I was like, I think I have IBS, because I remember there was a commercial on TV about IBS. Like, I remember it was like this little animated thing. And I was like, oh, that's what I have. That's what I have. And they just gave me a prescription, and I eventually just stopped taking it because it wasn't doing anything for me. But I noticed I felt better when I started exercising and having more of a variety of foods in my personal diet, which personally worked for me. And like you said, no diet is one size fits all, but we just don't give ourselves a chance to figure ourselves out, No,
we definitely don't. The yo-yo dieting is huge. We'll try something for a week or like 2 weeks, and you're like, oh, it doesn't work. Because let me tell you, my carnivore journey, guys, took a whole year, 1 whole year for me to fully adapt and make sure that it was right for me. And I did not feel good the entire time I was doing it, but I listened to the veterans. I have tons of friends and veterans via social media, did all my research, and they're just like, just keep with it. Just try it out. And it's the same thing with any diet, guys. Like, you got to give it more than like 2 weeks. Got to give it more than 2 weeks, and you got to listen to yourself, because what works for one doesn't always work for the other.
Yeah. It makes me think, Katie, of the Whole30, since I'm a Whole30 coach, a lot of times I'll have clients come to me to do a Whole30 because in the back of their minds, they do want to lose some weight, although that's not the reason to do a Whole30, but it's elimination protocol to see, like, if you're going through some type of autoimmune problem or even like IBS for that matter, to figure out what foods agree with you or don't agree with you mentally or physically. And, I've probably done about 10 rounds of Whole30 and I haven't done one in 2 years now because I finally figured out what works for me.
Yeah.
But that's not to say I will never not do one again, because my body could change again and I could have some issues coming up. And that's where I would usually start, is with the way I'm eating and seeing if something's not agreeing with me anymore.
Absolutely.
People just, even 30 days isn't long enough sometimes. Like you said, you started out for a whole year as like an experimentation with the carnivore diet. Let's talk about that a little bit more, because I am super curious. Hey gang, cutting in real quick to tell you about my favorite meal delivery service, Cooked. They are a Chicago-based meal delivery service, and let me tell you, my family is obsessed. So Cooked offers chef-crafted meals that are cooked simply with only the purest ingredients, and they have 3 different meal types. So they have signature whole food meals, plant-based vegetarian meals, and even better, Whole30 approved meals. They're an official Whole30 approved meal delivery service. And my husband's last round of his Whole30, this was a game changer. It made his Whole30 even easier, and me too, so I wasn't cooking on the meals, and the meals were delicious. We're still ordering them every week within our food freedom. So head over to eatcooked.us and you can use the code EmilyNichols15 to receive 15% off your first order, and then Emily Nichols 5 for every order after that to receive 5% off your meals. So go check out eatcooked.us and let me know your favorite cooked meal that you receive. You're gonna love it. So explain the carnivore diet to us. You're kidding me, obviously.
we always laugh. All of us people who do there's carnivore-ish. Like seriously, there's like 50 shades of the carnivore diet. You can do it any way that you want. You don't have to be a strict carnivore. So like strict carnivore is more like, a lot of people just eat beef, like beef, salt, and water, and that's it. Ruminant animals. Other people do more of a keto diet, or they'll call themselves like ketovores. So they'll allow some like non-starchy vegetables and maybe some plant material in there. Some people use spices when they cook, some don't. Some use sauces, some don't. Some strictly just eat meat. So red meat, white meat, chicken, pork, whatever. And they'll drink water. Other people, I kind of consider myself a more liberal carnivore. I call myself a liberal carnivore. I stick to ground beef and ground chicken the majority of the time. And you will also find throughout your journey, there are certain meats or maybe organs that your body doesn't like. Specifically for me, I figured this out when I eat more pork. I wasn't digesting it very well and I was getting some indigestion. So I've almost eliminated that. That's like a special treat. I hate saying treat because food's not something you earn, but you guys know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
Like a special occasion. So like ribs or ground pork or bacon, something like that. Dairy, in moderation, I can have a little bit of cheese. But I'm a little lactose intolerant, and you'll find a lot of carnivores are too. They'll just stick to meat products. So really you can do it any way you want. I still incorporate some white rice products. So like rice cakes, white rice, occasional rice checks. Say I had a really, really hard workout and I kind of feel carb depleted. Like I need a little something extra. I don't deny myself of those things, but I stick to the foods that I know that I can digest appropriately. But the majority of my time, it's ground beef and ground chicken, and eggs. Eggs are another one. Yeah. And I mean, it's simple. My air fryer, dude, you will hear me brag about my air fryer all the time.
I just got one, and girl, it is life-changing.
It is. Saves my life, man. Just hit that little button. That food's done. I'll shower. My food's done by the time I get out. Done. Like I got it down to a science.
It's done. Well, did you decide to do the carnivore diet because you thought you would be able to more easily digest meats versus like fruits and vegetables and other foods?
So my last official, I would say like more severe Crohn's flare was a little over a year ago. And I literally gained like 10 pounds over the course of like 4 days because I was so swollen with inflammation and fluid. Like I didn't even look like the same person. And it was my fault. And a lot of the doctors will tell you, well, your lifestyle and diet doesn't matter. Guys, it does. It matters in the holistic
It's such
realm
BS.
of your
that makes
health.
me angry. It makes me angry.
Yeah, it does. It does matter. Now, there are instances where doctors' medications and things are absolutely necessary.
There's a
especially with
time and
people with
place
Crohn.
for sure.
Absolutely. And I did have to go through a round of steroids and antibiotics when I had that last, but nothing more extensive than that.
Yeah.
And right then and there, I was like, I need to clean things up. Like I've been a little lax. I've been eating and drinking more things that I shouldn't be. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to try the carnivore diet because I know I feel great on meat. I was like, we're just going to have to feel this out. And I started it as just an elimination diet, just so I felt better, could get my inflammation under control. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to commit to this and just really see, how my, healing goes. Because I knew I still had some gut stuff going on. I was like, eventually I'll get new blood markers done. And we're going to commit to this. And it was a long journey. There were a lot of times where I did not feel well. And your performance does suffer when you initially start doing it. Like when you're used to eating a higher carb diet, when you're like a CrossFit athlete or doing Orange Theory or anything like that, it's like, more high intensity. It does suffer and it's okay. It's okay. You just have to realize what's going on physically with your body and not beat yourself up mentally for it. And allow yourself some time to heal. So I really had to tone down workouts and everything I didn't really do extensive cardio for about 6 months.
Wow.
6 months. I was like, all right, girl, you're lifting weights and like walking a lot. Like I would go to the CrossFit gym, but I still modify things, but I would modify everything.
Yeah. Dang, that is commitment right there for sure.
Yeah, it was a long process, but yeah, that's how it started.
Interesting.
Just healing, chasing healing. It was not for fat loss or anything like that. The fat loss and the weight loss honestly didn't come later till about maybe month 8. I mean, I gained 15 pounds when I started. And I was like, girl, well, you're just going to use this time to get stronger. And it's mentally hard. Like your clothes don't fit, And so like wear comfy clothes. I tell you, don't body check in the mirror. Don't weigh yourself. I would do it periodically just to kind of see where I was at. And you got to focus on other positive markers. Like, hey, I'm getting stronger. Like, all right, got some curves back there, but it was hard, but I stuck with it.
Yeah. Wow. That was probably really hard mentally at that point.
Very, very. I had to get all new clothes. Like I tell everyone, wear comfy clothes.
Yeah.
Make yourself comfortable. Focus on other things. Stay away from the mirrors if you have to. Like you got to make it easy on yourself.
Well, that probably felt better though than a Crohn's flare up though.
Oh, 100%. I was like, I didn't feel bad.
Right.
Like I noticed like inflammation was going down once I figured out like what meats and what foods and portion sizes and things like that worked best. Because with the carnivore diet, you need to really let yourself adapt first. Yeah. Figure out what foods your body likes and then go from there. I don't recommend anybody going through any kind of trying to do a fat loss cut when they first transition, trying to do a carnivore or a low carb or anything like that. Like just get adapted first.
No way. Can you drink alcohol?
I can't. So like socially, I do give myself like a 3-drink limit. Cause it like hits you like a ton of bricks. It's very, very different.
Yeah.
When you don't eat carbohydrates on a normal basis, it really is, or at least for me, I feel highly affected by it. So I'll give myself like a 3-drink limit, but I stay away from, anything super sugary or beer, anything with gluten in it is a no-no for me. Just very, very basic drinks. I stick with like, really it's like vodka and bourbon most of the time, but it's just 3-drink limit. That's all your girl needs. Yep. Don't need any more than that.
Girl, I have 1 drink and I got to go night anymore.
Right. And it affects your sleep and you'll find that.
Oh, yeah.
Sleep's a non-negotiable for me. Absolutely. That made one of the biggest differences in my health. in my healing journey. But yeah, alcohol really affects your sleep. So you got to think about that too.
Makes me think back to when my husband was having a lot of sleep issues. He was drinking beer in the evening because he was like, maybe if I have a couple of beers before I go to bed, I'll sleep better.
That little nightcap.
Slept worse, like absolute worst sleep ever. So then he drank a few more beers to be like, well, maybe this will help. Now you're just buzzed and can't go to sleep.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. So I tell people and my clients, yes, you can drink, but be smart about it.
Yeah.
And just realize it is going to affect your sleep. So figure out what your non-negotiables are and go with it.
Yeah. Well, I know you decided to embark on your carnivore journey really just for your Crohn's diagnosis and your gut health. And I feel like the word gut health, people are talking about it a lot. Like it's like a trendy buzzword, almost like self-care is. And just from the research I've done and podcasts and books I've listened to, they're like, the gut is very smart. The gut knows what's up. There's that gut mind connection, like between like your digestion and your mood. And I was wondering if you could give us a little bit more of your knowledge on that brain gut connection. Because I know the first time I heard it, I was like, what? But it makes sense.
Yeah. It's massive.
Yeah.
We are a society that is stuck in get shit done mode all of the time. I work in healthcare, so all my nurses and people who work in healthcare or any kind of a person like a service industry, half the time we don't have time to go to the bathroom. We're eating on the run. We don't even taste our food half of the time, and that affects our digestion as well. You have to slow down and eat mindfully and actually taste your food and give your body some time to actually digest it. Makes a humongous difference. Just that one change, like eating mindfully, eating slowly till you're 80% full will make a huge difference. And if you're a high strung person, like my type A people, I'm one of those. Used to be a worrywart all the time when I was younger. That chronic stress really puts a strain on everything. Your stress level, your gut health, the way you digest food and absorb it, your performance, your relationships, everything. So self-care is extremely important. Like you have to figure out a way to de-stress, go on a walk, color. I'm a huge fan of coloring. I color all the time. Nice. Find something, but it's huge. You got to slow down and give yourself some time.
Yeah. Yeah. Why do they say the gut is so smart?
Well, there are so many like physiological things that go on in your body that are interconnected. And they say your gut is your second brain, literally. And, disease, everything stems from it.
Yeah.
All right. So it's people think they need to do certain diets or even certain workouts, and your lifestyle, comes into a big effect too. It impacts it as well. And they think they need to do XYZ to, lose 20 pounds. When in fact, what they really need to do is focus on figuring out how their body functions most efficiently, like what foods don't cause triggers or gut issues or things like that. Because if your gut is angry, your body's going to be angry. Yep. And it's not going to behave and it's not going to cooperate with you very well. So people just want to put a Band-Aid on problems instead of figuring out like what the root cause is. Mm-hmm. And it may be that you're stressing out all the time. Maybe you need to take small walks after you eat, or, maybe there's a hard conversation that you need to have with someone because it's emotionally really weighing heavy on you. Like all of that matters, that mental, emotional, physical stuff, like it's all intertwined.
Yeah, it's definitely so connected. And I think a lot of times, just this conversation itself has been really inspiring, just being able to hear how you have gone through your own wellness journey, trying to figure out what works best for you. And I hope people listening today, the women listening today, feel empowered to go on their own journey and figure out what works for them, what doesn't work for them, be an advocate for their own health more so than anything.
100%. You got to stand up for yourself and never be afraid to experiment. Yeah. Like you can always go back to what you're doing. And sometimes just sitting down and talking to somebody, which I do all the time. I talk to people on Instagram all of the time and I love it. You guys are free to message me anytime. Like, hey, I'm having this problem. Like, what did you do? Like, talk to people. Yeah. Seek out people who are going through like what you're going through. Like social media is not all bad. Like you guys can leverage that for like positive things like connection and education. Like don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to question your doctors. Because they're people just like you. They're doing, the best that they can do to help you out and diagnose you, but no one knows your body better than you do.
Yeah.
No one.
Yeah. Well, Katie, last question for you. What has been the biggest surprise you've learned about yourself during this wellness journey of yours?
Oh my goodness. That's a hard one. There are so many different things. I'd say number one, trust my intuition. When something doesn't feel right, it's usually true. Like trust your gut, literally.
Yeah.
Literally trust your gut because you know best. Like don't do things just because like Insta famous Sally down the road is doing it, because we're all so bad about it.
Yeah.
We're so bad. We're like, oh, well, that works for, him or her. I need to do that too. Listen to yourself. Your intuition is rarely wrong. And sometimes you just need to learn to be like, stop trying to do all of the time. We are too busy being like humans doing things instead of humans being. Just be yourself. It's okay.
Yeah.
So I say those are probably the two biggies. Like you don't have to do things all the time. Slow down and trust your gut. Listen to your intuition.
There's a reason why that expression exists. Listen to your gut, not just like physically your gut, but mentally your intuition. And that's why they're intertwined.
100%.
Yeah, I love it. Well, Katie, thank you so much for this conversation. Where can everyone connect with you online? I imagine you're going to be getting a lot of DMs now.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys can catch me on Instagram. That's where I live the majority of the time. I'm pretty active on there. So Lil Bit of Fit, you can just look it up. I'm sure Emily will like post all this stuff in the show notes. You can catch me there. I also have a website. It's littlebitofit.com. I post a lot of blogs about all different kinds of life stuff, health and wellness journeys. So I would love to chat with all of you guys. You can catch me on there.
Yeah. And Katie, I just have to say, you are a very, very talented writer. You really are.
Thank you.
I like reading just your Instagram captions, but when I go to your blog, I'm like, just like, oh, okay, she's bringing me in. She's bringing me in. I'm here for it.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I appreciate everybody who takes the time out of their day to read those. It's serious therapy for me. Yeah, and just get that. An opportunity to connect with all of you. So
well, and I can feel that through your writing, that it's important to you and you're just speaking from your heart. So thank you for doing that.
Absolutely. I appreciate it.
You bet. Katie, girl, thank you so much for this conversation. I always love chatting with you. And like I mentioned, I always feel so inspired and learn so much from you. And I know everyone listening today, I hope you all took notes because there was a lot of really great takeaways. Let's get into my 3 biggest takeaways. Number 1, like I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, your gut knows what's up. So there's a couple ways to think about it. There's that mind-body connection we've talked about so much on here. So your gut is a really great indicator of things that are maybe going on in your life. Like Katie mentioned, it's your second brain. So there's actual science behind this. Your gut and your brain are connected in that they have some of the same neurotransmitters in the central nervous system. Okay, so they share some of those same neurotransmitters. So think of it this way. So if you've ever been nervous and your stomach gets upset, or you have butterflies, there's always that association with your gut and those feelings. So it's more than an actual metaphor. It's actually physical too. So, if you're feeling a lot of stress and you're having a lot of gut distress, there might be some type of connection there. Or like Katie was talking about, listening to your gut, your intuition. We get so busy being, like she said, human doings instead of human beings. We're so busy doing all the things. We're not just living and being and listening to our bodies, tuning everything out and really listening to what our body is trying to tell us, especially your gut, because it knows what's up. So slow down, listen to your gut, listen to what your body is physically telling you and your intuition as well. So number 2, my other biggest takeaway kind of goes hand in hand with that, listening to your gut, your intuition. When Katie was going through her Crohn's diagnosis, and I know a lot of other people with various autoimmune diseases, it's been quite a journey to figure out what is going on with your body. And you need to be willing to advocate for yourself and be willing to keep looking for answers. There's so many times where you follow the necessary steps. Number one, you go to the doctor. Number two, they do this. Number three, they do this. Or maybe you just stop at number one. You go to the doctor and they give you a prescription. And like Katie and I mentioned, there is a time and place for medication, but there's also a time and place for digging a little bit deeper, digging into the way you're eating, looking at your sleep. What is your gut telling you that could show this disruption in your body? So listen to your intuition. If you go to the doctor and you're like, okay, I got some answers, but I feel like I need to keep digging a little bit more. Do it. Advocate for your own body and your own health. It will serve you so much more to do that versus just taking surface level discoveries that you may find out at your doctor or just doing a Google search for that matter. So, number 3, this is a big one, okay? Listen to this. I loved how Katie said this. There is no such thing as diet dogma. We do not prescribe to that. Here, Katie does not either. So no, not every diet is created equal. We talked about the carnivore diet that Katie is doing right now because her body doesn't digest veggies and fruit and maybe some dairies over very well. But she had to learn that over time, and she had to adapt her body. Be patient, give it time to see what worked best for her. We don't have to, prescribe to some certain dogma. Like we said, no one size fits all will fit you the rest of your life, even with the way you're eating. You can't live by one set of rules in regards to the way you eat your whole life. And you have to be willing to learn about other things. You can't just be doing what you think is the only truth. Like, so for example, Whole30. There's a reason you only do it for Whole 30 days is because it's a 30-day reset elimination. You figure out what's going on with your body physically, mentally by eliminating these foods. You systematically reintroduce them back in at the end of those 30 days. And if you're not sure what Whole30 is, you can always join one of my free webinars. I host them every week on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern. And you can find a link for that in my show notes, or even just sign up for my Whole30 Anytime course. But with the Whole30, I could never prescribe to that way of eating the rest of my life. Number 1, that's not sustainable. Number 2, that's not fun. Number 3, who's to say that's going to serve my body the rest of my life? I'm getting older. I'm going to be 40 this year. Things are a-changing. I may have new food sensitivities. My gut may all of a sudden be disrupted by something else and no longer agree with me, and I don't know what's going on, So, and it's the same thing even with Katie's carnivore diet. Maybe someday it won't serve her anymore, and she'll reevaluate and take it from there. But we need to stop prescribing to this diet dogma where it's either like your road or no road at all. Like you have to be doing this or doing that. Just eat what feels freaking good for you mentally and physically, and be open to that change, to that transformation. That's what life is always about. We're always in growth and transformation and change. And that's okay. But we cannot prescribe to one diet dogma the rest of your life, because not every diet is created equal. What works for Katie is not going to work for me, may not work for you, and vice versa. Okay? So get rid of the diet dogma. Just eat what feels good to you. Okay? Okay. So gang, you know what is best for you. Your gut, your intuition, and physically your gut is telling you what's up. We just have to find the time and be a little more quiet to hear it and to realize what our gut is telling us. Like Katie said, I love this so much. We need to be human beings, actually just being instead of just doing all the time. Okay, so again, your gut knows what's up, and you know what's up because you're listening to Self Transformed. You're obviously on your own wellness journey, looking to grow, and I would love to work with you as well. So while you're in the show notes, checking out our Facebook group and my new Self Transformed 3-day at home workout quickie, you can also sign up for my newsletter to get weekly self-love notes from me to help inspire you on your road as well. So if you want to connect with Katie, check out the show notes as well. I so appreciate you all being here, sending you all lots of love, and I will see you next week. Hey girl, real quick, before you go, if you love today's show and know your girlfriends need to hear this message too, then grab a screenshot, post it to your Instagram stories, and tag me at EmilyNichols22, because the more mamas out there hearing this message, the more empowered we'll all feel to take care of ourselves so we can pour from a full cup. Or the number one way you can thank me for this podcast is to leave a rating and review in iTunes. That way, more mamas will find the show here too. Love you and appreciate you, girlfriends. See you next time.